Hi everybody, it's Richard McMahon again from the interview training company passmyinterview.com, and in this tutorial I am going to teach you how to answer tricky interview questions. So tricky interview questions are tough and challenging questions that are designed to assess whether you are a right fit for the job you are being interviewed for. More and more employers and hiring managers are using tricky interview questions as part of the selection process. And I'm going to go through 7 of these, 7 that are being used more and more during interviews, and I will tell you how to answer them. So please do stick around because I don't want you to fail your interview. Now, very warm welcome to this tricky interview question training tutorial. My name is Richard McMahon. That's me there in the center, the bald chap. And as always, I've been helping people for about 20 years now to pass their interviews. Loads of you are passing your interviews after watching these tutorials, which is great. So on that basis, please do make sure you subscribe by clicking the red button below the video, and then you are not going to miss out on my weekly training videos. And if you enjoy this tutorial, I would very, very much appreciate your support if you gave the video a like. Thank you very much. So what is a tricky interview question? So a tricky interview question is a tough and difficult interview question that is one of those where if you say the wrong thing, you simply won't get hired. So you could be going through the whole of the interview and you could be doing brilliantly, and then they ask you one question and you get it wrong. You say the wrong thing, and this happens a lot. So I'm going to tell you all of the tricky interview questions and then make sure you answer them correctly using the tips and the high scoring answers that I'm going to provide you with. So the first tricky interview question is describe yourself in one word. And you might think, well, this is not really tricky. I could do that. However, it is tricky because you can quite easily give a word that is of no benefit whatsoever to the employer or hiring manager. So you are being interviewed against a load of other people. So we want to give them a word, and there are some words that you should give, which I'm going to disclose in a second, that will make you the ideal candidate. So we want to think about what the hiring manager wants. So give one word that is of total benefit to the interviewer. So this is what I would suggest you say to that tricky interview question, describe yourself in one word. In one word, I would say I am a person of integrity. Now that's because I will always do a great job. I am loyal to my employer, and above all, you can rely on me to be professional in my role. So I've given a word that I'm a person of integrity, and then I've explained why. And that's the important part. So you can either pause the video and write that down if you want to, which is probably the best thing to do, or you can re-watch the video once I've finished. Now there are, of course, other words that you might decide to use. Here's a list of powerful words that will put you across as someone highly employable. Now this is one that I think is great. I would say I'm driven, because I am. From a personal and professional perspective, I'm driven. And that would be great if you are a hiring manager and you said, yeah, I'm a driven person. That's great because you are somebody who wants to do a great job and do lots of work. Professional is another word that I would recommend you use. Dedicated, I am loyal, I am responsible, I am compassionate, I'm self-disciplined, I am positive, and I'm reliable. So those are words. Pick any one you want to, but that one, a person of integrity, is, in my view, the top number one word and quality that is attractive to any hiring manager. The second difficult and tough and tricky interview question is, why do you want to leave your job? Now, why is this tricky? Well, because if you are negative about your employer or your manager or your work colleagues, you won't get the job. I can guarantee that. So when they say, why do you want to leave your job? If you say, I don't really agree with the direction the company's going in, or, there's been some changes that I've not been happy with, or my manager doesn't really understand me, or I don't get on with a couple of people in the team, you won't get the job. So what we need to do is be very careful in our answer to this tough, tricky interview question, why do you want to leave your job? So my advice is to be positive about your previous employer. Please do that. As hard as it might be for some people, be positive about them, because that demonstrates professionalism and integrity. So here is my answer to why do you want to leave your job. I want to leave my job because I feel I am ready for a new challenge. Now my employer has been amazing and we've achieved some great things together. But when I saw this job advertised, I knew I had to go for it. I will leave my employer on great terms, but I'm ready for a new, fresh and challenging role. That's the perfect answer to that tricky and tough interview question, why do you want to leave your job? Tough and challenging interview question number 3. What's your greatest achievement? Now, again, you might think, that's not tricky, but it is. This is your opportunity to gain lots of extra points during the interview. Now, most people will either talk about their personal achievements, their grades. My greatest achievement is I managed to get the grades that I wanted so I can apply for this job. Or they will even say, my greatest achievement is my family. I'm very proud of my family. I love them. They're very healthy. And that's great. We are all very, proud of our family. Or even some people might say, and I've heard this before, they'll say, my greatest achievement is the fact that I've managed to stay married to my partner for 15 years. Don't say that, and don't say any of the other ones. Okay, whilst they might be truthful, what I would say is something that is of benefit to the employer. So tell them about a work-related achievement where you or a team of people did something of significance for your employer. Let me give you an example of a great answer to the tricky interview question, what's your greatest achievement? I'd say my greatest achievement would have to be when I worked as part of a team to win a big contract for my previous employer. Now, we had been working on the contract for 3 months and the stakes were really high. If we succeeded, our company stood to gain a significant financial reward, but if we failed, we would not get this level of opportunity again for some time. We all worked together really hard to make sure the contract proposal was to a very high standard. Now, thankfully, due to our combined team effort, we won the contract, which enabled the business to really move forward and grow within the industry. If you said that to me, if I asked you the question, what's your greatest achievement? I would think this person is passionate about the organisation and they want to do a great job. That's the way to answer the tough interview question, what's your greatest achievement? I'm going to move on to a few more now, so please do stick around. Don't forget, if you haven't subscribed yet, please do. And if you're enjoying this, I would very much appreciate it if you gave the video a like. Thank you. Next question, what's your biggest weakness? Obviously, this is a tricky, difficult, tough and challenging interview question. Now, it's very easy to give a weakness that is an essential requirement of the job you are applying for. So if you are, say for example, you're applying for a call centre role where you have to deal with customers on the telephone, and you say, well, one of my weaknesses is that sometimes I'm not very confident when dealing with people, you won't get the job. So what we have to do is give a weakness that actually puts you across in a positive light, something that is of benefit to the hiring manager. So try and turn your weakness into a positive one. So here is my suggested answer to the tricky interview question, what's your biggest weakness? I guess my biggest weakness is that I find it difficult to strike a healthy work-life balance. I like to get stuck into my work and I often end up taking on extra tasks and working long hours as a result, much to the dissatisfaction of my partner. However, I am learning to make sure I take time for myself and my family while still being a committed and dedicated employee. That tells me that you are somebody who's going to work a lot and you are going to really put your work first, and you might work late into the evening at times. That would be music to my ears as a recruiting manager. Question number 5 of our tricky interview questions. How do you define success? This is a difficult one and it's used quite a lot. So why is this tricky? Well, it's tricky because, again, it's really easy to lose track of what this interview question is aimed at assessing. Are you a company person, or do you put your own success above everything else? So some people will say, well, I define success as, staying in my job or having a brilliant paycheck or getting a promotion. Now, there is a great way to answer this question. Think about how your definition of success can be of benefit to the hiring manager or interviewer. Let me give you a great answer to the difficult interview question, how do you define success? Success to me is doing a brilliant job for my employer whilst also building on the successes that the team has already achieved. So I am not someone who likes to sit back and just get by. I want to consistently achieve great things, whether that's delivering brilliant service for your customers, getting the company more leads, or even increasing sales higher than the previous year's record. So you are putting the organisation first, which is really important when answering that interview question. Tricky interview question number 6. Have you ever disagreed with how your manager wanted you to approach a task? Now, this is tricky because most people will say, no, I've never disagreed with them. But that would not tell me you are a person who's going to support your manager and come up with different alternative suggestions at times. Now, it's okay to say no, but there is a better way of demonstrating that you actually have an opinion and that you want to be supportive of your manager. So say you have disagreed on the odd occasion, but that you did respect their decision. Here is the way to answer the tricky and tough interview question. Have you ever disagreed with how your manager wanted you to approach a task? Only on the odd occasion have I disagreed with my manager. And whenever I have disagreed, I've put forward my suggestion in a respectful manner, and I explain the benefits of perhaps trying it a different way. On one occasion, my manager agreed with me, and then on the other occasion, she disagreed with me. But whatever the situation though, I would always respect my manager's decision and I would do what they ask. So that shows that you are not somebody who consistently disagrees with them, but that you respect their decision, but you want to offer up alternative ways of doing things at times if you think that there is a better way of doing that. I have a manager who challenges me on occasions. He is brilliant and I like it because he does come up with some brilliant ways of doing things differently. But it is how you challenge your manager that is important. Question number 7. Tell me about a mistake you made at work. This is a tricky interview question. But why is it tricky? Well, this is tricky because you could make yourself out to be foolhardy and even incompetent. And obviously we don't want to do that. So it's perfectly okay to make mistakes at work because we all do it. But it's how you respond to the mistake that's really important. Here's a great way to answer the difficult interview question. Tell me about a mistake you made at work. I've only ever made a couple of mistakes and I learned a huge amount from both situations. In my early days at work, I failed to double check a stock take that I was responsible for and the figures came out wrong. Now, as soon as I noticed the mistake, I was mortified and I informed my manager, I apologised and I put it right immediately. Now, in the rare occasion where I do make a mistake, I will always take ownership and I will sort it out quickly. That's the perfect answer to that question. That's great because it's how you put it across as well. I said as soon as I noticed, I was mortified and I informed my manager straight away. So this question does assess your levels of honesty, your integrity and your values, but also, most importantly, you take ownership. Those two words, I take ownership of situations and I sort it out quickly. That is the perfect answer to that question. Now, I hope you enjoyed that. If you would like to download my 21 great answers to tough interview questions, it comes in a PDF guide that you can download straight away. Click that link in the top right-hand corner and it'll take you through to my website, passmyinterview.com, where you can get all of the answers to the questions. I hope you've enjoyed that. Don't forget to rewatch the video if you need to. If you've got any questions, put them in the comments section below. You can also connect with me on LinkedIn. I've put my LinkedIn link in the description below the video. Hope you've enjoyed that and I wish you all the best for passing your interview. Thank you for watching, guys. Bye.